Hey guys, welcome back. Jeff with Protein Bros here, and it is our 177th episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today is a very special episode. We have Brett and Lexi Johnson, Lexi of Lexi J Wellness. If you haven't, been a part of her journey or seen her yet, you must be living under a rock. She's grown so much. She's done such a great job with her brand and how she's been growing her business, her community. Some of the most supportive community members out there is Lexi J Wellness. We absolutely love them. A lot of them shop in our stores. And so what we want to tell you about is her first episode. If you haven't listened to it already, I'd love for you to go back and listen to it because you can hear the amount of change that's gone on in her life in just a few years since her first episode with us, which was number 65. So here we are, 100 plus episodes later, walking through things now with Brett. Brett and Lexi both have been competing in HYROX the last year. Combined, they've done 23 races all over the country, and they have some really great insight for anybody who's thinking about competing as far as how to go about it, some strategy that goes into it, what to expect, what not to expect, so on and so forth. She also, we talk about a lot about her Lexi J Wellness community and an awesome event she has coming up that is the Bald 5K. And yes, you heard that right. She is doing a 5K to honor the balds. And so there will be 100 plus women with bald caps on, honoring different famous bald people. That's culminating into a Pitbull concert afterwards. Her Lexi playing as Pitbull. So lots of nuggets in here, something for everybody. I hope you guys tune in and give it a listen. If you haven't already, please give us a like, a share, a subscribe. Those subscriptions mean everything to us. We do this for completely free. This is about trying to put as many people on to some amazing local fitness personalities and professionals that we have in our community. So if you haven't already, please give us a subscription, subscribe, like, all those things. Appreciate it a lot. Let's get right into the episode. One of my favorite things you guys do is those gut check workouts because there's so many things that, I could just rattle them off from the hip here. Get your ass outside. You know what I mean? You guys have, getting your protein goal in every day. You guys have getting your steps in every day. You guys have the rucks. I mean, there's so many things that makes LJW, and you are very consistent with the messaging. But the thing that you guys are not super in your face about is the gut check workouats. And what I love about that is because it's about the spirit of it. Yeah, it's not about
if you know, you know.
100%. And so that's the spirit of that is what I love so much, because you want to celebrate, the people that are doing that harder work that's not required, right? But you don't want to make it to where it's look how special I am because I did it. It's more about hey, the reason why it's so special is because I didn't have to. Absolutely. It was me versus me. And if we start making it about anything else, I feel at the risk of us doing something like that is I don't want it to ever come across it's not about the work. As soon as you make it about the gram or, making it about, getting 20 people together to do it, that's cool and all, but it's really about just, I don't care if it's at 5 a.m. I don't care if it's at 5 p.m. I don't care. You just got to get it done.
Yep.
What have you guys seen in your own culture with that gut check workout?
So the gut check I think is really special because when I announce it each month, it's just one hard workout that's meant to test you physically, mentally. And I always say, there's no prize, there's no requirement. You can do it and you can sit out. You can do next month's, I don't care. But the attitude that you show up with, the integrity that you show up with, the ones that consistently do the gut check are the ones that they're I want bragging rights to myself that I did something hard. I want to, have that knowledge that I'm willing to go the extra mile. And there is no prize. There's no fact checker on whether or not you did it and that you did it to the standard, but it is something that just proves to yourself that you're capable of more. Because even when you do get into the routine, the monotony of doing consistent, silly little dumbbell workouts, you're growing that progress over time, but you're also you are getting into the rhythm of me telling you what to do. And now you're let on your own for one time a month for you to really challenge yourself and you to call yourself up for more, to stretch your capacity.
You guys, when you do that monthly workout, are you writing it yourself?
More often than not. If they're, May is always going to be Murph. In November we do Chad. Yeah, for Veterans Day.
That's September. Funny. When I was with the standard setter, it was those were the two that was the defaults for me.
Right.
I was are you going to have someone write it? Everyone was I think Kyle should write them. Kyle, I think lives a standard better than anybody in our company. And so I think he'd be a great, person to have him. But I'm maybe our first month would be May. It would just have to be Murph.
Right. Yeah.
How could you make it anything else?
Yeah. And then like throughout the rest of the year, a lot of it's just topical. So like when we're getting into HYROX, a lot of people are, excuse me, a lot of people are more interested in like wall balls. So we'll kind of just go off of what's most popular at that time or what people are asking about more. Now that the weather's getting nicer, this month is actually a half marathon ruck. So that's going to be fun. And it's always one that you can scale weight wise, you can challenge yourself, and it's really fun to be able to do it with someone else because it's a longer workout. It's not 100 thrusters that are going to take you, a few minutes, but it's going to take you several hours to get 13 miles in.
What do you got for me, Brett?
I almost wanted to call it the unrequired workout, but that would be piggybacking off Ben Newman, right? That's what he calls his workout.
Yeah. Did you know what Ben Newman does? And he's done it for like 3,000 days.
I had no idea. No.
He calls it
crazy.
the unrequired workout. It's the exact same workout. It's like 44 minutes long. It's brutal. I think it starts
But
out.
it's daily. It's not monthly.
Oh, it's
daily. He does it every day and has done
day.
it for, I might be wrong, but I want to say it's like 3,000 days.
So he's like cooking at like 8-9 years.
Yeah.
Let me look it up.
But it's like,
All right.
I think it starts with like a 4-minute plank
He's gonna
and then a
pop it up here.
4-minute leg hold. Like this man has to have a core of steel.
Yeah, Ben's in great shape.
Yeah, dude, I think he was originally Andy's first like speech coach.
Ben's an awesome
4-minute
guy.
and 44-second plank.
Unrequired.
In a row, yeah.
So you go from a 4-minute and 44-second plank, flip over on your back to a 4-minute and 44-second reverse plank. So a leg hold.
What is his personal like tie? There's obviously a reason for that number. Why 4-4?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know that I've ever heard him talk about the why behind it because it is very intentional.
Right. Strange.
Yeah. There's some sort of signal.
250 air squats in a row to just start off with like basically a third of Murph.
Right.
Is a unbelievable stat to just go off of, and then 44 straight push-ups and having to do 2 sets. I mean, like, dude, that's crazy that he does it every day.
Yeah, that's impressive.
Every day in order, in addition to regular training. Good for him, dude.
Yeah.
My gosh.
He looks the part.
No doubt, man. And he's older. I mean, like, what is he, like, he's got to be getting close to, like, 55, you think?
He's got a daughter that's about to go to college, I think. So he would have to be,
Yeah.
Yeah.
St. Louis native, too.
My gosh, dude. Yeah, he's such a good dude. Like I said, whenever Andy started the MFCO project in, like, 14, I think maybe 15, I just remember him telling me that Ben Newman was his like, speech coach, was, like, helping him just how to public speak more.
And so cool that like that workout requires 0 equipment and he speaks so often, like he's on the road, and he's tailored that to be able to work around his schedule. That's something that is undeviating. Like it's his non-negotiable. I think that's so cool and admirable. Cause I also think like body weight workouts kind of get lessened or like diminished in terms of, really changing your body composition. And this is a very successful man that is doing a body weight workout every single day. And obviously it's paying off for him, and just the mental resilience of doing something hard that like, all right, I did it today, but guess what? You're going to wake up tomorrow. You're going to do it all over again. Like there is something to that I think is just so like resilience building.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's neat.
I agree. And it's, I think the force to discipline, like by calling it unrequired, it is just like simply a choice every day. Like, do I want to go a little bit more than I anticipated, or that it was my expectation? And him having it like 3,000 days in a row is just like a banana stat.
Yeah.
I can't Christmas morning, like, hold on guys.
Right.
Let me knock this out.
Yeah. I can't quote exactly how long it was, but I did the math when he announced it, I don't know, a few months ago, and it had been years.
You mentioned like the body weight workouts. Lexi, how much has it been? Like, we're about to celebrate the 5-year anniversary.
We're about to celebrate 6.
Or 6. It was a 5-year big one last year, but you had a big party for it. But so we're about to hit 6. But we're over 5 years of LJW workouts, and again with the consistency and messaging, the silly little dumbbell workouts, with the all-time text message that you were sent. Luke, if you can try to find that, let's throw that up on the screen, please. So the dumbbell workouts, how much pressure have you felt, if you have at all, to audit or change the style of workout, or maybe how much weight it is, et cetera? Like, how more difficult did you want to make them, and have you really had to test that out?
I honestly don't feel pressure to change it, because if it's not if it's not broken, don't fix it. And the nice thing about the structure of the workouts is that it does allow you to intensify or modify. So it's not like I'm picking up a certain amount of weight and I'm telling everyone else to pick that same weight up. I'm saying we're going to move for the same amount of time. We're going to rest for the same amount of time. I'll show you variations of that movement. You pick up. And usually if we're doing upper body, I'm going to be like, okay, reverse flies. As far as light, medium, heavy goes, this is where I would land, just kind of for your own reference, because that's not going to look the same if I were doing the workout with you guys or someone that's day one of their fitness journey. They're not going to pick up the same dumbbells as I am. So I'll let you know kind of a range, and I'm talking with them the whole workout. And I'm telling them, when I first started doing lateral raises, this is the weight that I was using. And now I am significantly heavier, and it's just a process. So if you're just getting started, it's all right that you're grabbing those lighter dumbbells. It is a graduation period that you have to work through, but there's no way to, skirt the work.
You guys have just done such like a tremendous job at showcasing the results of LJW. And just for our listeners, in case you're somehow not familiar, Lexi J Wellness is a 28-minute dumbbell workout that you guys post live every single day. Can you do them live? Or no, you record them.
They're full length. They go up at
they're
midnight.
Full length. And you got one every single day, and you have missed only a handful ever.
Yeah.
You've had to pre-record for any time you've ever had. So like for the amount of days that LJW has been around, is there that many workouts with you in them?
Yeah, I've never missed a workout. So we just recently started, I have Lexi G. So we are now Lexi Squared. That was not intentional at all to have the other person on screen also share the name, but just so happened that the best candidate in my eyes was also Lexi. But she started in September, and now we do them together, which is really handy because one of us can show modifications and just have someone also to banter with, because up until then I'm yapping to myself, but that was never a problem before. But now I have a person physically to talk to. I have been in every single workout Monday through Saturday for over 5.5 years.
Shout out Lexi G real quick, because I have met her and she's a dog. She's a badass. I'm so happy you guys found her. And she was actually I would say she was a member of the whole community before she became, a side trainer. Is that accurate?
Yeah, she was a client for 2 years. Actually, of my 10 employees, 9 of them all came up within Lexi J Wellness. The only one that wasn't was our marketing gal. And since then she's been doing Lexi J Wellness also, but it's really cool and just speaks to the culture of these women are proof of the process, because a lot of times in fitness especially, there's just a lot of bullshit out there. Like, you don't know who you can trust, and for them to have that confidence in being able to tell a client, like, I have not wanted to send in a progress photo also. I fell off track too, and I've turned in the assessment and been really embarrassed or ashamed of falling off on vacation or not doing what I said I was going to do, but I got back on the horse. And like, just having the confidence of someone that's been in those shoes is so validating. It's also so relatable for the other side of it, because if you are a mom of 3 and you're struggling with a nighttime routine and sleep regression and prioritizing yourself, to have someone on the other side that's also been through that is really, really powerful.
You have a membership that is like a community that I feel like really regulates the culture for you at this point. Can you touch on, just when I say regulate, I mean, like, if somebody is, disappointed in themselves, like you're saying, maybe they missed a workout, maybe they didn't hit a goal that they were looking to achieve. It seems like you guys have such a supportive community that helps step in before you even have to yourself. Where do you think like that comes from?
I think that it trickles down from the top. Like, my team does a phenomenal job of modeling that and modeling our core values, that is the expectation and the standard. And then we have group experts that are just highly, highly involved members of the community that help us out a ton. So like in the Facebook group, oftentimes they're going to see a comment of someone saying, this is my first workout in 2 weeks. I'm ashamed to say it, but I'm back. And they're going to beat me to the comment. They're going to be the ones stepping in and, saying, we've all been there, but I'm glad to see your face today. And it really is, it's something wild, because the internet is a scary place at times. It's a weird place, but for them to have that space in the Facebook group, it is so unique for a random stranger to clap for you, and for someone to reach out and just make you feel seen, make you feel important, make you feel like you're not the only one navigating all of this. And I think that that's what roots it, is just the relatability of having so many individuals doing the same thing, whether they're on the same journey or they have the same goals, but you are all doing the hard stuff. You can look to your left and right virtually, that, you've got someone else, that you're not in this alone. I think that's the root of it. And I think it just trickles down from the top.
You started these workouts, Lexi, in your guys' basement, right? This is during COVID. And like, this is, I think, what episode do you think this is with you, Lexi? Is this our 3rd or our 4th? Because it's so hard to know now, because you weren't the sole, focus of was it the last two we talked about HYROX, or was it just the last one?
I think it was just the last one. HYROX is still relatively new.
Right.
I just hit my year. Yeah.
With 15 races under your belt.
Yeah.
Is that right?
When I dive in, I dive in.
Yeah. I mean, that was an unreal number. Brett, what number are you at now?
8, I think 8 or 9.
A lot of I have
she's doubled up
a higher number, because a lot of times I'll go double headers. So I'll race pro doubles with a woman on the same weekend that I'll race mixed doubles with Brett. So I tend to double down on some weekends.
I think the only one that you've gone to and competed in where I did not compete at all was DC last year. Yeah. Every other one we've gone to together, and we've at least competed, in one. And I
got lots to ask you guys about that, but we're gonna still talk a little more Lexi J Wellness first. Yeah. Because I was gonna be like, dude, how many flags? Like, what are you going to do with all these flags? Because you also have like the first Phorm flags too that they're making, right? Whenever you do those sims, are you guys there to more like coaching and more like being a supportive person, versus are you doing the sims as well and like competing with everybody?
I've been doing the sims.
You would just be crushing it, right?
It's really fun though. So I've been doing the sims, and I have offered up to my group experts. So those are the ladies that are just highly involved in Lexi J Wellness. I want to give them opportunities just to kind of thank them for pouring into the community and loving that the way that I do. So in the past 2 first Phorm HYROX sims, I've opened it up to them, and I'm saying, okay, I'll buy the tickets. If you're interested in doing it with me, we'll just put it in a drawing and I'll draw someone. So I've raced with 2 clients, the last ones. And that's just, it's so cool to kind of be the guide in something that they're interested in. They can get their toes in the water without traveling across the country. Oftentimes HYROX is in major cities that are not in Missouri, getting a flight and all that stuff. So they can meet me in St. Louis. We'll race together. I can kind of show them the ropes and give them that guidance. And, it's a huge confidence booster for them, because HYROX is hard. The race itself is hard. The requirements are physically demanding. So you go through that, and it's a cool thing to be able to lean on someone. Because when you are doing a HYROX, I think that's the neatest thing about Brett and I doing it together. Like, if you have the opportunity to do it with a significant other, I highly recommend it, just because it's such a vulnerable thing, stretching your capacity and like going to the limit if you're pushing yourself hard, and being able to having to lean on the person next to you. So yeah, the last 2 I've done with clients, which has been really special.
But you're building like such intimacy with your members that way. Like, I mean, you're going through something that's, no matter who you are, no matter what fitness level you're at, it's testing your personal fitness level, no matter what, stage you're in. And then you get to do that alongside them. And so like you do these, I just can't imagine like the unbelievable experience would be for those clients where they're working out with you every day and you're in their living room, and now you're literally shoulder to shoulder with them doing 100 wall balls unbroken. And they just get to like marvel at what's going on right in front of their faces. I mean, like, talk about just like a dream come true. I think, when you go back to, and I mean this in all seriousness, like, for everybody listening, like, I consider Brett and Lexi very good friends in real life outside of the podcast. And just to like see you from when I first met you to be able to deliver on an experience like that, with the people that like have invested so much into you and how much you've invested into them. Just like, what an amazing thing that you guys have done together, where you get to do a full-on HYROX sim shoulder to shoulder with one of your clients who, again, like, started in your living room or in their living room, and now you're like literally doing the workout with them. And like, I can't imagine, like, to somebody else, I know this might be hyperbole to others, but like, if when I was younger, if I got to like go get a chest day with Arnold Schwarzenegger, I might, pee down my leg. You know what I'm saying? Like, freak the hell out. And so just the fact that like, people look up to you for sure. And you get to create an experience that they will literally never forget. It's just such a cool thing, And I feel like, did you ever anticipate that would be something? Because it's like the athlete thing is like, and I say this to you too, Brett, like, you guys are competing again. You've been competing your whole lives in sports. You take a quick break, after school is all done, after college is done. And then, you get into, your careers and so forth. But like, we're competing again, you know? And so like, how does that feel? What's that like?
It's been the first time that I've ever competed in anything as an adult. And I've always loved training, and exercise has always been a big part of our lives, but it was just, kind of a means to an end, just to stay healthy, which is not to diminish, like, that's so valuable, but it's been really cool to have kind of a different focus. And like I said, just to be able to do it with Brett. And this was something that when I signed up because one of my friends she said she was going to do it. I signed up without even knowing like the details of the race. I'm like, I'll do whatever. It's fun. And didn't touch a sled before my first race. And now here we are 15 races later, and Brett and I are going to Worlds in Sweden in a couple months. It's been really fun. And the experience to do it with him is just so special.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lexi was saying, there's a certain, amount of competition that you just kind of leave behind in your younger years after you graduate high school, for most people at least. And if you're playing at the collegiate level, most people don't go beyond that.
Mm-hmm.
But, we've entered the phase of our lives where we pretty much left all that behind. And then out of nowhere, we started competing again. And it's been really cool to do together. It's not something that we really planned at all. And really the last year was totally just out of left field with all these HYROX competitions. But we just dove in head first that's what we do.
So when we talked last about HYROX, Lexi was on our actual specific like HYROX special because it was really catching fire. And I think a lot of people didn't know a lot about it. And so we really wanted to like kind of get into the ins and outs, what to expect when people are mentioning this HYROX thing. Like, what is it really all the way through? Like, let's talk through it. What makes it difficult? Where are the challenging aspects of it? One of the biggest things that people couldn't get their head around was, does this not change? Like, once we went through that whole HYROX, episode, I can't remember what was coming up next. Luke, you gotta tell me what was coming. Like you were about to go race maybe your first pro race. But like you had only done one or two or something, dude. Like
I think at that point that might have been leading up to my first back-to-back weekend. The first time I was gonna do.
It was you and Fast and Fit Mike. You and Mike Thompson were the ones doing that together. Yeah. But the next step, like you were gearing up for another one, but like it was like I think had you done only doubles at that point?
My first ever was an open solo. Brett's first ever was open solo, and until Phoenix, we had never done pro solo. So we got our pro solos under our belt, and we'll be doing another pro solo next week, actually. Okay. We'll be doing pro solo in Houston.
So when you guys do these pro solos, like, Lex, you just had like one of your best posts I've ever seen you make was about just like the advice you'd give to yourself over again if you were starting over with HYROX. Just like something as little as like, don't, like knock the wind out of yourself on a burpee broad jump. And like, I definitely, when I do burpees, do that to myself.
Yeah,
every
you're just
time.
flopping. You're a fish out of water.
Yeah. You're like, I immediately can't breathe. Like, ruined me immediately. But you guys are going back and forth. And so like, I have so many questions regarding just, we've seen the greatness that is HYROX as far as like the way that they put on the show, if you will, the performance of it is awesome. Like they do such a great job. And then I've also had people complaining like, the wall ball station, there was a line. Like, are you serious? Like I just showed up, I'm ready to go. And there's no spot for me to like complete my workout. How can we like fly and book hotels and pay all these fees and drive all this way or whatever it may be, only to have like my workout be like kind of robbed from me in the midst of it. Tell me what your guys' experience has been like. And have you had nothing but positives? I mean, you've had 15 races under your belt, Lexi. Has it all been smooth? We've
never ran into the experience of like having to wait for a station. Typically, in my experience, there's lots of equipment or whatever the station is. Sometimes you will get congested in like specifically burpee broad jumps or sandbag lunges is where congestion is. You kind of have to weave in and out, which is annoying. I think our probably biggest gripe from a station standpoint or, running the actual event standpoint is the inconsistency on the sleds. So you have thousands of people running through these sleds in a weekend, and then they'll have a HYROX in another city next weekend or, the same month, and they're reusing this equipment. And when the sleds get worked over and over and over, and it's thousands and thousands and thousands of times they're being pushed, it just like friction happens. And I think it's on the sled itself, not necessarily. I think people complain about the turf, but I think it and Brett can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the sled is the biggest factor where
like the skis on the bottom, if you will.
Yeah. Some of them feel like glue, and then some of them glide. And it's super frustrating going one week into the next. And this happened recently, like in Vegas, I felt like I was pushing a wall, like it was not moving at all. And then in DC, I'm like, this is great. Like I'm clearing this. So I think the sleds are probably our biggest complaint, and you can touch on that even more.
Yeah, I mean, it's all speculative, but just analyzing it, my understanding is that, okay, here's a for instance. So the Elite 15 if you're familiar with HYROX, maybe.
Oh, this is great for people to learn. Yeah. Tell them what the Elite 15 is.
Yeah. If you're not familiar with HYROX, the Elite 15 is probably just like, well, I don't know what that is. But basically, like, there's levels to HYROX, and like there's HYROX, and then there is the Elite 15. It's basically the pros.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to qualify to be Elite 15.
Because there's
It is
just
the-
open,
the
then there's
15
pro, then there's the Elite 15. Is that the 3 tiers?
Yeah.
Let's help everybody. Going back down education lane here.
Sure.
So the Elite 15, they're still racing pro, but it is the 15 fastest in the
And they
world.
go against each other.
Yes.
Yeah. It's
And
like,
they're the only ones racing at that time, which is unique because you'll see videos online of HYROX and there's hundreds of people on the track and all that stuff. There are 15 individuals on the track, which is unique and makes
very
it
fun
different.
for the spectator as well in that
Yeah.
aspect. It probably makes it a lot easier to figure out who's in first and so forth.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah. So that's like the get paid to win division. So there's actually like, they hand you a check if you're in the top 3. So that's like elite. And it's pretty cool. HYROX, well, Center is like their, that's their sponsor that makes all their equipment. And they made brand new equipment like that had like this special colors. Elite 15, like the branding is largely white. So there was like all these white features on this new equipment. So the sleds were moving like butter whenever they were in Phoenix. And really the same situation, I think, in DC, because there was also the North American Elite 15 competition just recently when we were out in DC. And those sleds moved really well because they had never been used before.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's less about the turf and it's more about the sleds. And it's not just the friction that's coming from the sled on the turf itself. If I were guessing, again, this is speculative, if I was guessing, it's these sleds that are, you have to think about how much goes into these events. There's a lot of equipment, and these pieces of equipment are getting moved, and put in like, freight trailers and getting moved from place to place, and who knows what happens in between. So there's got to be a little bit of variability with what sled you get, how new it is, how much it's been through. So
out of all the equipment, is that the one that you feel like has the most variability to it?
Yeah.
Definitely.
If you think about the tires on a car driving off the lot compared to tires on a car after a road trip, because like the Elite 15 ones, those are reserved for those races only. There's only a handful of majors, which are the Elite 15 races. There's only a handful of those all year. There's only 2 in America, which was Phoenix and DC. So they're getting used at such a smaller frequency that they're not building up that wear and tear that the other ones may. So our Elite 15 friends said that they just glided, which is so nice for them. But it's just
great. They're literally competing for money. So I would hope that theirs, were the most consistent of all of them.
Right.
Like, let us.
And honestly, cool of them to do that, but it also now opens it up for everybody else to be like, well, hey, what the heck?
They can't replace the sleds every time. It's just unrealistic.
For sure.
There's just a lot of equipment that has to get used for these events.
When you're, we both, operate businesses. And so to try to create a consistent experience for the customer is something that we often think about. And so when I think about HYROX and the way that they present it, it's to me so fascinating where the workout has to be as consistent for everybody, regardless of what city it's in. And that part feels crazy to me. So it's like, for you to say, I did HYROX Dallas, HYROX Houston, HYROX DC, HYROX Phoenix. Each one of these cities has the exact same workout, but like we know that the venues are not the same.
Yeah, there's a lot of nuance whenever it comes to the venue itself. So kind of the unspoken part of HYROX, especially if you don't know what you're really getting into. Like if you just go and run one, you wouldn't know the difference between one HYROX and another outside of like, hey, this is a different venue.
Sure.
But there's this kind of ambiguous side of the race where the rock zone is going to vary a lot.
That's what I was thinking. I had to be right. The rock zone, and for our listeners, the rock zone is simply the travel that you do between the track and the next event.
Right. So
like
correct? Whenever you
how many total events?
8.
8 total events. So in between each one of these stations, you are going to go run 1,000 meters on the track, and then you'll have to return to the next station.
Right.
And that travel between you're done on the track, you're getting off the track, but there still is movement that needs to happen between the next station and getting yourself off the track. That's where the real variability comes in per city. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So just envision it like literally like a high school track. And, a high school track, usually the shot put's on the inside. Usually like discus is on the inside. Not always, but just kind of envision it like that, where all the field events, if you will, are on the inside of the track. So there's an in and an out. That's where you go in and out of the rock zone. You know, you're running around, you go in, and that's where you make your way to your next, you know, station, your field event, if you will. And like the first one is ski. Well, ski could very well be right there by the inn, or it could be on the complete opposite side.
Depending on the city we're in.
Yeah, the venue is going to dictate how they have to arrange the rock zone. And, you know, if the venue has a large space, it could be that the laps are big and you got, let's say, 2 laps. But if the venue's smaller, it may require 3 laps and the rock zone is smaller and more condensed. But it varies every single time. There hasn't been a single rock zone that's been exactly the same. So really, whenever you're comparing one race to another, you can't ever really just say it was apples to apples, because the number of laps could easily slow down the race in its entirety. So you got to think every single time you make a turn, you're slowing down. The longer the straightaway is, you know, the more you can pick up speed, the less you have to turn, the faster the laps are going to be. So there's a lot of variables that come into play. Like you can't just say, well, at Boston, which is where we ran the fastest, to date in our mixed doubles races, we ran a 58.07. Well, I'm very thoroughly convinced that we ran a faster race in DC. We ran a 58.51. But as a result of the
rock zone,
I think that it was actually just it pushed it back and made it slower. So I think if we ran the same race, you know, same pace, because we're just more fit now. If we were able to translate what we did in DC into Boston, I bet we would have been in the low 57s.
Wow, man! I just say, like, it's just that little bit of variance. Also, I feel like keeps it as the game within the game. You know what I mean? It's like, anytime a sport picks up popularity, people look up ways to where they can shave time or shave results. And it's part of the competing aspect of it, right? And so, like, I just think that part's so fun because everything's finite except for this one little...
And the map is never released more than a week ahead, or about within a week ahead. And at that point, the tickets are all gone. So it's not like you can kind of scope out a favorable route or a favorable map that you like better, because at the time that the tickets go on sale, you don't have a clue what it looks like. Yeah, so supposedly the rock zone is always the same distance. Like, you're always going to travel. I think they say it comes out to like an extra 800 meters or something. So 8 laps at 1,000 meters plus, I can't remember if it was 700 or 800 meters is what the rock zone is supposed to be. But there certainly are some courses where you're like, this feels a lot longer. Mm-hmm. It feels like I'm taking up a lot more time to get in and out. But
which is fine. I mean, like, everybody's running the same race at that particular event.
Right.
You know, nobody has a leg up on anybody whenever you're
but
racing at that event.
That's fair, but it's like, but at the end, that's your time. That's your time.
Right. I mean, you want to have the fastest time you can get, but realistically, you can't compare one time on one course to another course and assume that it's an apples to apples.
That's what I mean. Like, in the community, is it like, oh, you got that time at that venue? Like, everybody raced faster at that venue. Is there any of that inside the community?
I don't feel like there's any, I mean, at least not within us or people that we're talking to, because I think a lot of the people that we are associated with, they are like, you know, everybody's got to deal with it. So if the sleds suck. But there's an interesting Instagram account. I think it's like HYROX Opt or something like that. And after each race, it analyzes, was this a faster or a slower course? And it breaks down, you know, based on just median finish times of each division. It'll break it down by station, which is really interesting because, so like Cancun just happened, I think last week, and I don't know if it was outside or something. That's obviously going to slow you down if you're in Cancun heat and humidity. And potential wind, whatever you're going to
potential cartel.
Yeah. You got a lot of stuff happening. So that one obviously, it compared it and it was much slower. But that info is always really interesting to me just to kind of look at.
Yeah, so it was a 1 lap. Yeah, look at that. See, even as a 1 lapper is what it's saying. So
wild.
Yeah.
You guys, so you're at 15 total races. Brett, you're at 8 total races. What was your absolute favorite place to compete?
Boston.
I really liked the environment of Phoenix. It was also my first pro solo. Phoenix was in the Cardinal Stadium, so it was the first ever HYROX in an NFL stadium, which is really neat.
It's out in Glendale.
Yeah, I liked the course itself. Boston that was our fastest race, but it was also the first time I had ever done back-to-back. So I had raced pro solo our pro women's doubles the day before, and we qualified for Worlds in that. So this was coming off that race, which
you're on like an all-time high at that point.
Well, mentally, yes, but your body's fatigued. So I remember Brett basically drugged me. Like I was doing everything in my power just to keep within reach of him. Because that's the rule on doubles. You have to stay within an arm's reach on the runs, and then you can split the stations. But that one, it was fun because we ran so fast and we were excited, but it honestly was a miserable race for me. Because it's just so hard to run that fast to keep up with him.
Was it wasn't it the other way around though when you guys first started competing together? Weren't you leading the way on the running side?
Probably.
I remember Brett saying like, man, I got to get faster.
I still got to get faster.
He always says that. So with mixed doubles, in HYROX in general, you have open weight or pro weight. So like you have an open women's weight, a pro women's weight, and the pro women's weight is the same as the open men's weight. And then you have a pro men's. So for mixed doubles, it would not make any sense for us to have to go to the pro men's weight because that would be an enormous task for a lot of women. So mixed doubles, when you race co-ed, you're using the pro women, open men. So when you think about Brett and I racing together, that weight is going to tax me a lot more than it would tax him. Biologically, like he's going to be able to handle the sled push, the farmer's carry. I can hold my own on lunges and wall balls, but like at that point you're in the station 7 and 8. So he's going to feel a lot fresher coming out of those stations because it's the equivalent of me doing a lighter weight. Like it's easier for him. So that's why mixed doubles is so challenging for me, just because he's feeling a lot better coming out of each station where we're going to finish him faster because the weight is lighter to him. So we'll complete the stations faster, which gives me less rest. And then because he does feel pretty fresh after the stations relatively, like he's obviously pushing himself. It's not like a walk in the park.
Just less fatigue, bottom line. Yeah.
So then he's feeling better. He gets back on the run and he takes off. So it is a challenge, and that's how it's supposed to be. But mixed doubles it is very, very hard. At least coming from me, from the women's side. I think I have an unpopular opinion that pro solo is not as hard as mixed doubles at a competitive level.
Yeah, man. See, only people that have, had the amount of experience that you've had can really like speak to that. But I have no doubt, I'm sure if people have done numerous races like you have in both, those categories, whether it be mixed doubles or pro solo, like, I don't know how you could think of it any other way. It's just like, this is just the variables of the competition, right? So, I mean, it's just very interesting. All of it is to me. And with where you guys are going now, you talked about Worlds in Sweden, dude.
I'm so excited. I've never been to Europe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, neither one of us have.
So
really cool.
But tying this back into Lexi J Wellness, this is clearly like turned into a passion that, I think in the beginning of this, did you see it going to go that way? Like it's something that love that you guys have for the sport of it, it seemed to spread quite a bit within the community, but it's never been like the aim of of you starting. It was just something like, let's give this a shot, and then like going all in, like you're saying. It really feels like your whole Lexi J Wellness community has really latched onto it as well.
Yeah, I think it's been fun for them just because they also and several of them have gotten into it themselves, but they get to root me on something that I share with them that I'm excited about, that I'm passionate about. And it also just speaks volumes to the training that they're also doing because, and I've said this several times when people ask about my training for HYROX, Lexi J Wellness remains my priority. I have to record those 6 times a week, and that takes up energy and it takes up a lot of, my time. And I'm traveling a lot. So I don't have time to sneak off and do like an enormous amount of HYROX workouts. I truthfully, 95% of my workouts, maybe, and especially when we qualified for Worlds, I was maybe getting 1 HYROX workout in a week. And now that we are qualified for Worlds, I'm trying to get 2 to 3. But it just speaks to the volume and like the credibility of those silly little dumbbell workouts. Like if you show up with intention, you show up with purpose, these can actually, you can see the fruits of your labor. And I think that, like I said earlier, a lot of people kind of look down on body weight workouts or at home workouts where I'm proof that they work. I'm not sneaking off and running all this. It's actually kind of a running joke with our friends that are within HYROX. They're like, this is crazy that you're doing this at this level. And you're not running. I just recently got into running,
we both
so I'm committed to running more. But I do think that it gives them a lot more validation in the work that they're doing. They're like, this is cool.
I mean, not everybody can do 100 unbroken wall balls.
My toxic trait.
Very, very few people can actually. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she doesn't give herself enough credit for that.
But like, I think one of my favorite, you've done such a great job of I think storytelling, how, this new passion with HYROX and how it's really related well to the training that you've done with Lexi J Wellness. And I think, one of the best posts you've made, if you can try to find it in the abyss of all the amount of posts that Lexi's made, of which one that was like, just showed off basically like, where did you learn how to do 100 unbroken wall balls? And it was like, boom, 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 all these different workouts, just recordings of you doing, obviously recording your own workouts and being like, weird. I didn't, who would have thought that,
I've been training muscular endurance for
this
6
long.
years.
That's right.
Yeah.
Straight. And, never missing. And so it's like, yeah, dude, I mean, like you guys can, you can find haters all you want as far as people trying to optimize or trying to make the most perfect this or that. But consistency above all else, man, and discipline above all else. It's crazy.
Yeah. I have countless reps of lunges and squats and thrusters over the years of, just going for volume, going for my muscular endurance through my legs, just through Lexi J Wellness workouts has served me really, really well.
Mm-hmm. Now you've gone, one of my favorite things in the first podcast you did with us, Lexi, is we talked about you, like your journey of becoming a Phorm athlete, specifically athlete. And then athlete of the year to get even more specific. And so I was like, where do you go now? And it just feels like you've just gone so much further, changed so many more lives, touched so many more people along the way. I got to ask, do you have a new North Star? Is it world champion at HYROX? Is it, 100,000 members at Lexi J Wellness? Like, what is your new North Stars?
I always wanted to be a Phorm athlete. I didn't know that athlete of the year was really a thing. So I would be lying if I said that was like a goal of mine. And I recently made a post about this, just kind of because people will reach out about how do you get to that position, or I don't really like being called an influencer because I think it
cheapens the impact, I think, a little bit.
Yeah. But I don't know that I have a numeric goal with it. I just want to be able to impact as many lives as I can. And I think that it pairs so well with, like you had mentioned, Phorm, and that they're changing, real and long-term results is the ultimate goal, but to be able to genuinely make an impact and have families better because of my existence in their life and, my implementation that everyone has the same tools at their disposal when it comes to those dumbbell workouts, but not everyone actually, takes what they have and takes where they're starting and sees the fruits of their labor. But I get so much reinforcement from people being like, I got to, carry my son around the zoo for 2 hours and there's no way I could have done that before. I had just those real life examples of people actually changing their lives and being able to be a small part of that journey. And, also get to spend 28 minutes with them of we're doing this workout together. And I think that, I want to be the premier at home workout space. I want to, I think Beachbody is probably the current one, but I want to take over because I think that we can do it right. I think that we can lead with the core values and actually make it meaningful and have it be bigger than fitness. Because the wins, when you ask me to list off the cool things that I get to hear from my clients, they're very rarely like someone stepped on the scale and they're 12 pounds lighter. It's always the things that are bigger than fitness. It's always the things that are bigger than the aesthetics. It's how they show up in their real life, just as a cause of building their confidence, building their self-belief and their strength. So I have a hard time putting like an actual metric to those goals. It's impact over everything.
Yeah, I think that was, that post was really strong as well. Talking through just like, if you're ever trying to become an influencer, is this the post we're talking about? It's like, if you're ever considered like trying to go all in on fitness specifically, like maybe as a career, you can do it taking, butt selfies or something like that. I mean, I'm paraphrasing for myself now. Yeah. Like you could do it
verbatim.
You could do it for, you could do it for vanity or you could do it for impact. And it's like both work, 100%. Like choose the path you want to go. This is just the path I've chosen, ... But I just love that comparison take that, was zero shade being thrown. It was just more of like this is just the path I chose, but just recognize what that means.
And it's just the truth of it, because I do have, especially younger girls that are wanting to be in a position that I'm in. And I don't mean to hurt anyone's feelings, but I'm like, there's no short supply of hot, fit girls on the internet. Like that's a dime a dozen. But if you can make someone feel like they are a part of something bigger, if you can make someone believe in themselves, if you can help someone out of a hard spot in their life and develop trust, if someone can trust you, especially in the fitness industry, that is so much more valuable. Like the looks will come and go or they'll fade, but like actually being able to generate trust and have someone, have faith in you it's invaluable in the fitness industry.
Would you say when you're talking like just, your journey, if you will, would you say that like the fuel, if you will, has it changed at all since you started versus where you're at now?
I don't know that it's changed, but it just continues to add. Like I'll just add more little nuggets to my bank of things that I'll like lean on for fuel. Mm-hmm. And I have a screen recording from, I think it was Cam Haynes that was on the Modern Wisdom podcast. And he was like, I love being loved, but I get a lot of fuel out of being hated. Mm-hmm. And I have that screen recording because I take a lot of motivation from people that doubt me or people that don't believe it should work. And I think that that's where I get a lot of the fuel. And I just keep adding screenshots. I love keeping receipts.
I always say, that fuel burns hotter. And I've said that recently a lot because I'm just like, guys, there's always like, do it for this or that. And there are always like a lot more healthy sounding reasons. But the chip on your shoulder is, it just burns hotter, dude.
It's powerful.
It just burns hotter. Like, give me all the doubt. Give me all the, people telling me I can't, this and that. Like, there's just nothing better. I even have to do it to myself. If I haven't heard enough of it, I have to like tell myself.
The Michael Jordan.
Oh,
treatment.
Yeah. Yeah, make it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, shout out Modern Wisdom. It's a great podcast. Chris Williamson, killing it with that, man. He's got a great story too. So competing, like you're saying, like at a high level, one of my favorite things about you guys is that you're not afraid to throw it out there as far as vulnerability and being honest about like what you're truly like shooting for. And I remember, I believe it was HYROX. You guys correct me if I'm wrong here. I've been wrong a lot today, but HYROX New York, I believe, is when you were like really gunning for that under an hour, under 60-minute doubles. And like that shit just did not go the way you wanted it to go.
No. HYROX New York is the coolest aesthetic probably because it's outdoors, it's on a pier, you get to look over the water and have the skyline in the background, but there's just variability when you're doing a HYROX outside. So it happened to rain all day. It ended up raining after our race and races were canceled. So people were paying money to fly across the country to do this, and then they just got
not cheap to stay in New York either.
Yeah,
those
they just got the rug
crazy.
pulled out from under them. And it was one of those, like we talked about the variability of the race or of the course. It was a smaller course, so we had to do extra laps. And that just makes, if you have more people doing extra laps, you're going to run into more congestion. You're obviously going to be weaving in and out of more people. So it was one of those things that the course itself just didn't lean to be a PR course. It was really cool. My parents got to go see it. That was the same weekend we were on the billboard in Times Square, which is really special to experience with my parents. But yeah, not the PR weekend or the sub 61 we had dreamed of.
Yeah, we were right there, and we felt like, okay, this is it. We were just on the cusp. And we've been training in the grand scheme of things. Now we really know, how little we were truly training for HYROX, Lexi especially. But like even on my part, like HYROX is largely a running race, and we were not running to prepare for HYROX. So it's honestly kind of wild that we were able to do what we did without really training the way that you should train for HYROX. We're really good at stations.
Yeah, we love field events. As soon as they get rid of all the running in HYROX, it's over for everybody else.
Yeah, we're really good at stations, but the running is still a work in progress. But that's what ate us alive there. But yeah, New York was kind of a shit show.
But getting to it is just simply like, you guys weren't afraid to throw it out there. Like, this is what we want, this is what we're trying to do. We're not going to like apologize for it. And I think that, again, you have a tremendous amount of people who look up to you, especially you, Lexi, with your community. And they got to see you not fall on your face. It wasn't anything you should be embarrassed about. But simply not achieve what you were hoping to achieve,
come up short
in a very public setting, if you will, and how you react, how you respond, the resilience you showed. And then we, fast forward to DC and Boston, and both of these are well under the 60 mark. You're talking about 58:07, I believe you said, in DC. Is that right? Or was it Boston?
Yeah. 58:51.
I actually have a very tangible experience or example of that. So HYROX Dallas was the one that the majority of my clients, they had signed up for. It was a massive, massive event. There was a lot of people from the S2 community there also. So we were really excited. It was also one that I was going to be racing mixed doubles and pro doubles together. But it was a change of order because normally I would do mixed doubles second. So this time I got to do mixed doubles first. Brett and I were going to be racing first. And at this point, my clients that were coming had been watching like my results online. They had been hearing me talk about it in workouts and stuff. So I was really excited for them to be able to see Brett and I race in person. And the morning of our HYROX Dallas race, I can't remember if it was like the Uber Eats didn't get delivered or something. I normally eat a lot before HYROX. And I just did not eat as much as I normally do before Dallas. And it was the second run. So you were still very, very early in on the race as a whole. And I started telling Brett, I'm like, I am not seeing well. I feel like I'm looking through coffee straws. I am not well. The burpees, there was a video of me and I'm kind of stumbling. Like I just couldn't get my footing. I felt super weak.
It's like dehydration maybe? Or
I think it was just underfueling.
Sure.
And to the point that I was telling him, I'm like, I need to stop. This is bad. Brett's like, we're not quitting. We don't quit. We finish the wall balls and I take off directly, like running straight forward. And I almost run into a wall. Brett grabs my arm for us to go up the finish line.
I remember this. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a video or a picture video, something like that, where I am about to be the bug on the HYROX windshield.
It's that side wall of the ramp right before you go up to the finish.
Yeah. I almost went head first into it. And I got to the end, I just like collapsed. And I remember looking up from the finish line, all of my LDW clients that I was just so excited. I wanted to PR. I wanted to like show off for them because they had made the trip. It was so cool. And I like felt like I was apologizing. I felt so bad and so embarrassed because I did not run a good race. I felt miserable. And I'm like, and of all the races for me to feel horrible, this was the first one that I had ever experienced anything like that and hopefully never experience again, but they all saw it. But afterward, when I was talking to them, I'm like, they also got to see me go through something that sucked and I followed through. Like I crossed the finish line, which is a bigger lesson because you learn way more by people's failures than by the highlight reel. So if they were to see me cross and us PR and qualify for Worlds that race, it would have been really cool. And they would have, it would have been a cool story, but even more, I feel like I got to display the things that we talk about every day in the workouts. Like it is not going to be picture perfect. It's never linear, but I faced adversity and I saw it through and they got to see that in real time, which was really special.
I want to speak to also just the like, I might get a little more hippy dippy here, but it's just like the pure authenticity of it all when you're competing like that. And it's like, you have people putting, you on Instagram Live. So people that are in the community can follow along. And just when I think about like, as you've gone from, your guys' old house with the basement to, the Lexi J Wellness studio that you guys have created in the basement, we'll call it the gym studio. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but you look at it's just clearly come a long way, and you've come personally a long way. And I think that when you get to this level where you've crested a lot of mountains, if you will, Lexi, people can start to want to throw stones or question, who you are or the authenticity of what you're doing as you're carrying more and more weight. And I just want to say that like when you're talking about the proof of you putting it out there and doing those races where it's just like very vulnerable, you're exposed, if you will.
Yeah, there's no hiding.
They're like, is she, these workouts are all recorded. Is she really like that all the time? Does she really care? Does she really put herself out there? And it's like the fact that you're just out there, like for everybody to see, whether you fail, whether you win, whether you lose, it doesn't matter. Making it very clear, like what you're trying to accomplish at that race. And I've had races where it just didn't go the way you thought it was going to go. I just like, dude, I'm so proud of you. It's awesome. It's just such a cool thing to see and just such a cool thing for your community to be witness to and get to be a part of. Because as you continue to grow and continue to grow your guys' community and the amount of people that work underneath you and work with you, I should say, they get to see, you continue to challenge yourself and put yourself through these tough situations and still come out of the, on the other side, whether it be you achieving the result you were hoping for or learning a lesson and moving forward and doing it again. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You had mentioned, that is one of my favorite compliments to get is that I'm the same person online as the one you meet in person. We had an event in Jacksonville recently. So it is not the typical crowd that comes out to the Missouri. Like we're highly concentrated in the Midwest. So every now and then we want to do at least one event a year that's in somewhere completely remote. So I get to meet people in that region. And the first night we did a ruck and then we did a beach workout the next day. But one of the girls, we had been rucking for like 30 minutes and she was like, you're like the same person that I work out with every day. Like you're the same. And I think that's such a good compliment because I uncompromising authenticity is one of LJW's core values, and it would be exhausting to show up and put a face on.
Yeah, you mean I should be performing 6 days out of the week? You know what I mean?
And it just
crazy.
Like I have met people online that are, you know, big influencers, and you're like, dang, that just did not live up to the hype. Like it's very performative. A lot of social media is. So I do put a lot of effort into showing up as the same person, because I would be so disappointed. Like I would be embarrassed if you ran into me in the grocery store and you're like, oh, that kind of sucked. Like, yeah.
Is there a part of it though? Like, you know, I'm giving you the opportunity to, you know, you can say is it always like, I'll just put it this way. Is it tougher at times now than it used to be as far as to like carry the amount of weight? Because I feel like the weight's just getting heavier and heavier as I just like bear witness and watch. And, you know, is that weight starting to feel heavy at all? Or is it something where you're like, no, dude, it just feels like life, you know?
I think it is just so ingrained in my life. Like there's no distinct line of Lexi J Wellness in my personal life, which could be looked at as bad, but it is just so blended that it's the way that life feels. It feels heavy, but that's how life has felt for the past 5.5 years. So I don't know any different right now.
Right. How about for you, as far as just like the relationship with your guys' marriage? And, you know, it's like, I feel like clearly when you guys said I do, none of this existed. No. So like, what a fun thing to, you know, to go through together as a couple, you know. But what's it been like as far as, you know, being Mr. LJW in these situations?
Yeah, I just kind of take it in stride, honestly. I don't really think a lot about it at this point, but, you know, in retrospect, our life was way different whenever we got married. I mean,
dental hygienist over here, right?
Not even a dental hygienist.
I would say when I first graduated, we got married 2 weeks after I graduated college. So I hadn't even gone to dental hygiene school. I was just in a mountain of debt, and I started substitute teaching because that was going to pay off my debt, but it was just something that I could do in the meantime while I was trying to figure it out. Ended up going back to dental hygiene school. So we both laugh when you're like, this is not what you anticipated, because me operating a business would have never been something that we entertained or we had thought was a possibility. It would have been laughable.
Yeah. No, she was substitute teaching before she was, you know, a dental hygienist,
and
then decided to go back to school to be a dental hygienist. Started that, and very shortly after is whenever COVID hit, and, you know, we had gotten into working out, started taking control of our lives again, and then, you know, she started recording the workouts, and Lexi J Wellness became like a full-time gig a year after she started it. You know, she was doing dental hygiene and Lexi J Wellness at the same time for about a year. So, I mean, yeah, it went from substitute teacher to I'm going to go back to school again to be a dental hygienist and run Lexi J Wellness, and then just Lexi J Wellness. And
302 weeks ago.
Yeah.
My favorite part.
Yeah. I don't really know, you know, what I feel like at this point, you know, or if I ever, you know, dreamed of what it would be today. We always set big goals, and you never really know what that comes with. But I mean, I'm happy where we are, and no, it hasn't been easy, honestly. You know, I mean, but nothing's easy in life. So, I mean, you can choose your heart either way. And I'd much rather take this version of hard than the opposite.
Right.
We were talking, I can't remember.
Look at those kids.
We were talking about if you could, I had a post-workout question. I was like, if you could spend one day as someone else, like living as someone else, who would you pick? And a bunch of people had said me. And we were having this discussion, and Brett was like, I wouldn't want to be you. And the things that Brett does for Lexi J Wellness, I couldn't do. Like, Brett does so much behind the scenes. Yeah, it's hard. And it's hard because we care so much, and Brett only has a greater role in Lexi J Wellness now, and it continues to grow. It's really hard to have a boundary of where Lexi J Wellness stops and, okay, we're just going to be husband and wife. We're just going to, like, you get home and you're asking how your day is, which you would in a normal relationship, but our day is like the catch up, the rundown of it is talking about business. And then it gets us down a rabbit hole. It's hard, and we don't have a solution to it. It's something that we're just constantly trying to evolve and work with, because we do love it so much, but to an extent we're like, we have to we have to find a way to combat this so we can talk about something besides Lexi Wellness. We don't want our marriage to turn into a partnership, a CEO and a COO.
Mm-hmm. What have you guys found as far as advice on that? Have you, when the more that you guys pour into, like kind of the initiatives and the objectives and the things that you do with your life, with your business, et cetera, whether it be HYROX or Lexi J Wellness, you're starting to really narrow the amount of people that you can relate with. So who have you found as far as who you can speak to role model wise that you can genuinely relate with and figure out what to do with these feelings? Because I'm sure they're big and it feels very difficult to find people who can relate.
Yeah. I think that HYROX inadvertently created like a super niche for us almost. Because, we already kind of struggled, to find people that we really relate with and live a comparable lifestyle to. But then
Like competing in business be damned. It's just like how you're choosing to choose to live, if you will, outside of those things.
For sure.
Yeah.
And
because that just affects more of your life, like the way that you eat, the priorities you make on vacation and things like that. Like that, those differences and similarities just pop up at a higher frequency than business decisions. So like if you can find couples that also embody those things, that was what we were struggling with before. Just like finding, just
like-minded.
Yeah. People that,
Yeah.
But I would say like there's a lot of, I feel like there's very few, I shouldn't say there's very few, but it depends on the age. You know what I mean? I feel like when everybody's younger, everybody's lifting and doing workouts and stuff for aesthetics and not for the longevity or the wellness of things. And I feel like as you get a little older, you start to find more people that are, I would say like that herd starts to thin, especially when kids start getting involved. It just starts to become more of a challenge to stay in shape. And they haven't invested in things like Lexi J Wellness or another personal trainer or this or that. And so when you have those, those obstacles, as you get older, it just becomes more and more tough, like you're saying, to find people that are still making it a priority, that like basically, should I say this more direct, making themselves a priority outside of just the have-tos in life. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And really, like, I didn't mean it as a bad thing whenever I say, like, we kind of created almost a super niche because it was already kind of hard. But then there's a lot of socializing that goes along with HYROX also, because you get to know a lot of people.
And you start to run into the same people.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of run in circles with these, you start to see familiar faces.
Quite literally run in circles.
Yeah. Yeah. But within the First Phorm community specifically, like First Phorm has done a really good job at spreading the awareness of like HYROX and getting super involved with it. And obviously we are already predisposed to having some great relationships with people at 1P, but we've just really strengthened some relationships that we have, like Will and Darcy Grumpke.
Will Goggins.
That's right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're super close with Will and Darcy, some of our best friends. And beyond that, we've also more recently been exposed to some people that aren't from like, our close proximity, like Stephen and Rachel Pelfiker. They're
Pelkifer.
actually,
Pelkifer.
What'd I say? Pelfiker?
Yeah.
You'll be the 1 millionth person who's messed that up.
Well,
so.
Yeah, no,
after
actually,
he
I think it got stuck in my head because of
he just got first in Elite 15 doubles. So him and his partner almost broke a world record, but one of the like HYROX media guys kept saying Pelfucker, and he was trying to correct that.
Yeah, so I think that got stuck
Pelkifer.
in my head. Pelkifer,
Yes.
yes. Yep. But yeah, they actually live in North Carolina now. They're Wisconsin people originally, but we've got to know them, good friends of ours. But we've just made a lot of relationships through HYROX. And really, it's like you would assume that as you kind of like niche down even more, into some, to further ingrain yourself into this realm of, where you would assume that it would be harder and harder to find people with more, common ground. Mm-hmm. We've actually found the most people that we've ever, that are close in age to us, that, run in the same circles, that have the same interests, that have the same principles and values, just good people. And that's been really uplifting just to find people that we can really relate to.
I'm happy to hear that, man. There's a saying I love. It's one of the definitions of intimacy is just going through a shared struggle and getting out on the other side. And so, it's like the niches that you're talking about. It's like, well, is there an age range for HYROX? Do they do anything in age?
When it comes to world and like when it gets graded at each race, you're you're stacked up against your own age range. But
Which recently.
That's what I was going to say, because it's like they're like doing it for you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's ours. Like you guys quite literally know what it's like to go through some of the biggest struggles you've been through. You know what I mean? Like, you know, go into like a dark place when you're in like just a full on, like my heart rate's exploding. Only a handful of people can really relate to that.
Yeah. We actually just recently changed age groups, which
Brett had a birthday, which put us up to 30 and a half is the median. So it's kind of interesting. And so Brett and I qualified for Worlds 25 to 29 because at the time he was 30 and I was 29. So our average was 29 and a half. But he had a birthday right before DC. So our average became 30 and a half. So we bumped up an age group. And it was a bad weekend to be a 30 and a 30 and a half because we finished our race and we were like top 3 podium. So top 3 get flags. We were 4th overall and 4th in our age group. So the three groups.
Is it 30 to 30 and a half, or was it like 30 to 35?
It's 30 to 35.
Sorry,
but
30 and a half to 35.
Yeah, 30 to 35. So our
30 to 34.
Okay.
35 to
yes.
39.
Yeah.
But our average went from 29 and a half to 30 and a half. So the 3 couples that beat us happened to all be in our age group, so we didn't get a podium. But the week prior, if we would have raced, we would have got first in our age group, which is just, that's kind of how it runs sometimes.
Second.
On like a way less serious note, what's up with all these tattoos? What's up with HYROX and all these tattoos, dude?
You start to feel like a damn race car. Like,
Yeah, dude. I'm like, where we tat? Like, should we start tatting our heads? Like, do people bald heads do it?
Hey, we're going to have a new one here too pretty
yeah.
soon.
I swear, I look like I feel like NASCAR getting ready. Yep. It was kind of funny.
Well, you got 1Ps and you got LJWs, to be fair.
Yeah.
So
right?
stay tuned.
But is there anybody else who's going like 3-4?
Oh, there are people that have like, they're tatted up.
Their whole back is just backed out.
Yeah.
Like,
there's people that have several.
do you remember the boxing ring, like the celebrity boxing that they used to do? And like people would put like goldenpalace.com on their back when they were boxers. You know what I'm talking about? It was like, this is like, you know, I think like the popularity of UFC. There was just like old school goldenpalace.com. Look it up, Luke. But all I was saying is like their entire back was like an illustration.
Like a billboard.
Yeah.
So I had ordered from the same place every time. And Brett's are bigger because like I'll put them on my arm or my calf and Brett puts it on his chest.
Boom.
Oh, nice.
I mean, like it couldn't have been
do that.
more like, you know, just graffiti in people's backs.
.com.
There was tons of it, but I don't even know what goldenpalace.com is.
Yeah.
But it was back in the day when
But you
.coms were
remembered
hard.
it. You
It worked.
remembered
I was
it.
just saying it stuck. In Vegas, I had just got new tattoos for Brett because he needed more. And he's like, we're in the hotel. He's putting it on while I'm fixing my hair. I'm looking in the mirror and he's like, does this look straight? Yes, it looks perfect. So he puts it on, puts his shirt on, and we check in, and then we're getting ready to go to the warm-up area. He takes his shirt off, and I'm like, Brett, that tattoo is backwards.
Oh, classic.
It says WJL.
In the mirror, it looked perfect.
But when we looked at it in the mirror, it's perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, they sent us a mirrored version of it by accident, and we didn't figure it out until it was time to race. So he just raced with WJL.
There it is.
I love it. Yeah, just do like a front-facing camera when you take a selfie.
Yeah, that's a
and then you're
selfie
good.
only
Yeah.
tattoo. A mirror pick only.
Are you? I wonder. Do they like? Have they? Like, is there a uniform that is required? Because I'm surprised they haven't like. Has anybody done like a HYROX and jorts?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
We
yeah.
did see there was the jorts guy actually.
I thought I saw that maybe.
He carried I think it was men's doubles. They carried an American flag also.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There's different ways of like getting attention. You know, I'm surprised there hasn't been like a girl in like booty shorts who's like, you know, putting one of those
I think
tats
that's
on her
all of
butt
us.
cheek or something.
There are.
This is incredible.
There was a guy in Vegas that did it in full turnouts, like firefighter gear. A guy in DC wore a suit and held a briefcase.
Anybody done the banana yet? The banana
Oh,
costume
I
would
think
be
there
pretty
was one in the
sweet.
background of that, maybe. Oh,
I see the Wolverine there.
word on the street is that a Phorm Energy can will be racing in Houston.
Smart. So smart. As long as they have a respectable time, you know.
I think they will.
They
Is
will.
it Steven?
No.
No. It's that's close to the last name though.
It's Mason Stevens,
Okay.
which for reference, Mason was hurt in Phoenix. So he had like a fun run for him. Did a pro solo fun run. He ran a 105 fun run.
That's
And
incredible.
literally, I watched that man like high-fiving the crowd. He was doing like windmill running. It literally was just like the goofiest man out there. And
He'll probably casually run like another 105 in a Phorm Energy suit.
That's like, and that's everything. I feel like if you're going to do it, it's got to be a respectable time. You can't like make a joke out of the race.
Yeah.
So like he's got to be like legit competing, and I'm sure he will.
Probably
That's just
will.
so dope though. What flavor can you think?
I feel like
Is
it's
he a
got to be
Screaming
Screaming
Freedom?
Freedom.
It's going to be Screaming.
Got to be Screaming Freedom.
Red, white, and blue.
We're talking about doing head tats. There's something coming up. I feel like we should talk about it.
Yeah, we've got the inaugural Bald 5K in Kansas City on April 11th. The rules are you can run, you can walk, you can crawl, but you cannot show up with hair. That would be so embarrassing for you and for me.
What about a partial hair? Am I allowed to have like male pattern baldness?
I'll allow it. Hulk Hogan's in, Danny DeVito's in, Dr. Phil's in.
Okay.
Those are okay.
I think if I just go with like a classic horseshoe pattern, maybe George Costanza, I think I'd have to be in.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good one.
My gosh.
And it's one I haven't heard yet.
You also said inaugural, which means like you're thinking about making this an annual deal.
I certainly I'm having way too much fun dressing as Pitbull. I've already done like 2 dress rehearsals. Just imagine me alone in my home walking around like this.
As long as you
exactly what was
possibly can.
happening.
Yeah, I mean, like, do you have to ask her to take it off, or does she just sleep in that?
This is actually the first time I've seen it.
He was at work. It wasn't even performative. It wasn't for anyone else to see. It was purely because on game day, I want my seams seamless. I'm not wearing my facial hair because I don't think the one I bought is disposable or is reusable, and I don't want to reuse wear my facial hair that I can't wear again on the race.
I think like the real North Star here is that on the day of the race, you don't try to lead it. You don't get on the mic. You're just simply showing up as Pitbull, and you're like, I'm here to race, and just like you have nothing else going for it. Like you just don't even know. No one even knows where Lexi is. Like, is she even here? We don't know.
I got some really nice what kind of shoes are they? They're men's dress shoes I got from
They
Savers.
look like straight up like shiny tuxedo shoes.
Yeah, $9.
So it'll be like a pilgrim out
A
there.
little too big for me, but we'll stuff them.
I told her she's going to look so handsome.
You did mention not grabbing the mic. Unfortunately, that's just not Mr. 305 style. When we got the rental to do this 5K, we reached out to the Parks and Rec, and the route that we got, they're like, also, I don't know if you're going to use it or not, but it comes with like a little stage. We do like little fairs and stuff there. So if you want the stages involved, it's included in your rental. And I'm like, I'm going to put on a Pitbull concert. I'm working on my set list.
Not going to not
Yeah.
put this on.
Yeah. So I've been working on my set list. I'm pretty excited about it.
Could you give us the intro track? Just what are we going to kick it off with? Because I got like a top 5 Pitbull songs I can go right now.
Let me hear them.
First one, Go Girl.
Oh,
Do you remember Go Girl?
that's a deep track.
It is, but it was like a spring break anthem in like 2008 when you guys were like in diapers. So it was like
I was in junior high.
it's a like Pit. Put it this way, old Pitbull he had some dirty lyrics,
Raunchy.
some
Have you
real
ever-
raunchy lyrics.
Well, and I am picking these songs, selecting them based on like what the crowd is going to know because I want crowd involvement. Have you ever really looked at the lyrics of Holiday Inn or Hotel? What's the name?
Yeah,
of
so here we are again. I know.
Yeah,
They all run together. It's like Flow Rida.
Pitbull
It's just
song
one
comes
song.
on and you know all the lyrics, but yeah. Fireball's gonna be on there.
Oh, Fireball classic.
Also,
I think it's got to be number 1 then, right? I mean, that's going to get
I think
people
that
going.
wants to be the closer.
Okay.
Give Me Everything with Neo.
Oh yeah, Everything Tonight or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
Also, he's got some ones with Kesha that are really good. But did you know Pitbull has a Dolly Parton collab, and it's
No.
called Powerful Women, which I feel
Yeah.
like it's only necessary. So Keely,
A lot of women dressed like men that day.
yeah. So Keely is one of our LDW team members. She absolutely adores Dolly Parton. I asked her to be the backup or my co-star.
Yeah.
But it's funny because Dolly Parton obviously has hair. She's not allowed at the Ball 5K. So Keely is dressed as the Big Show, the WWE wrestler,
Of course.
covering Dolly Parton as my co-star. It's going to be a spectacle.
I love that she picked the Big Show.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I am so giddy at the thought of someone driving down the road and seeing a herd of like right now we're at like 130 signups and we're still several weeks out. Like a herd of 250 bald men running down the road, jogging down the road, pushing strollers.
What about like a cone head? Has anybody picked that one yet?
Coneheads, the Blue Man Group. If you're looking for a group,
Such a
think
classic.
Those are all so good. I haven't heard anybody say that they're going to be either.
The Lorax?
I do. I've heard a couple Lorax.
You make it, you put the orange suit on. You know what I mean?
Gru, and you could have minions. That would be another.
Smart. Yeah, I mean, like, that person's for sure going to be like the coolest if you're Gru plus minions.
Yeah. You have a posse.
Something to think about. So, Bald 5K, April 11th in Parkville. Where can they sign up?
There's a link on lexjwellness.com under the events tab, or you can always just reach out to me on Instagram. I'm happy to shoot that over to you because like I said, I want this to be a spectacle. It's so fun. It's the first time I've ever been excited to run, just because I think it'll be so goofy, which is my favorite brand here.
Sometimes community, Charlie Brown, Mr. Clean.
Yeah, Brett's going to be Mr. Clean.
Let's settle this now. We are going to draft the top 5 best balds of all time. Starting with the 5th pick, Brett, who's your first and yet 5th most famous bald of all time?
So the 5th, so we're talking the lowest ranking of our top.
That's right. That's right. Which top 5 bald of all time, pretty popular. Pretty cool.
Okay.
Yeah. There's no wrong answers.
Vin Diesel's a good one.
Yeah, dude. Dom Toretto. And I should say this, prerequisite, whoever we pick, the bald has to be like who they've always been. We
Vin
can't
Diesel's
have any
never
second wind balds. Like their famousness.
Bald is a lifestyle.
That's right.
Not a choice.
That's right.
Vin Diesel's never had hair, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, like he for sure, I'm sure at some point in his life has.
As long as he's been.
But as long as he's been Dom Toretto, he's bald.
Yeah.
In the same breath, I will mention The Rock for number 4. Great bald.
I'm going Mr. 305.
Number 3.
Well, I thought it was my first draft pick.
Oh, sorry.
No, we're going top 5.
It's just 5. We're going to rotate. Someone gets to vote. Someone gets to vote twice. Someone gets to vote once. But Mr. 305 is your 3rd overall pick?
Well, as long as you guys have to make sure Mr. 305 makes the cut, right?
Yeah, he's number 3. That's fine.
All right.
But that means he's the 3rd most famous bald.
Agree to disagree. That's my submission.
Okay. I'm taking Mr. Clean, number 2.
Man, that's really hard. I mean, like who could beat Mr. Clean?
Yeah,
we all grew up with Mr. Clean.
Arguably number 1, but I'll see if you can beat it.
Number 1 most famous bald, I think it has to be Homer Simpson. No one has done more for the bald community, arguably, than Homer. I mean, he's been through, multiple wars. He's been on TV for 30 years plus, and he has maintained his bald with just 2 comb-over hairs on top.
Real trailblazer.
Yeah, I mean, truly. I mean, Stewie Griffin.
Homer walked so I could run.
I was going to say
5 could run.
I was going to say Homer walked so Stewie Griffin could run, but yeah, I mean, I think that we're onto something here. And then shout out honorable mentions. If we're going to keep going down the cartoon characters, right? Stewie Griffin. You mentioned the Minions.
Yeah.
Gru.
The Lorax.
Yeah. So many classics.
Charlie Brown's
a lot of great cartoon balds.
Mm-hmm.
No one wanted to draw hair back then, apparently.
Weirdly all kids, right? I mean,
bald kids, and then you got the Lorax. Any other honorable mentions you guys can think of?
Andy Reid.
Famous balds. Andy Reid up there for sure.
Voldemort,
another classic.
If you're gonna have Voldemort, you have to have Dobby.
That's true.
He deserves that. Yeah. Thank you guys for being on our show today. I will say that the Lexi J Wellness community has been one of the most supportive communities that we've had out of all the guests that have been on our show. I felt like when we were first getting started, you guys as listeners, you guys might not know this, but Lexi actually bought a Protein Bros t-shirt the first day we ever launched even having any form of apparel. We threw out some shirts, and she was one of the first orders we got was directly from Lexi. And so you guys have always supported us. We genuinely love you guys. We appreciate you guys. Shout out to you. Shout out to your community. We're cheering you on at the Bald 5K. We're cheering you on in HYROX, and we're cheering you on in life. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you so much. Dale.